and we're going to go to the Egyptian gallery, ancient Egyptian art. Okay. In our walk there, you guys are going to see some reliefs that belongs to the Assyrian art. And you're going to notice that the art will contain some of the stones from this wonderful and powerful nation. I'm going to be preparing a tour about just this artifact. But for the sake of time, let's go into the Egyptian artifacts. So let's start at the beginning. When you talk about Egypt, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Well, there are many things that come to mind, right? The first one is the 10 plagues. Maybe the second one is the first world power, as is mentioned in the Bible. What is the third thing that comes to mind? Joseph, Moses, Abraham, Sarah, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Well, the visit to the museum has many goals. Number one, to connect the Egyptian culture to what we already know about the Bible, but also to connect it to the items that have to do with the 10 plagues. Egyptians are big about funeral arrangements. Why is this important? It is important because when you see a case like that one, what comes to mind? Maybe an urn, right? Well, guess what? The Egyptians had a practice where they would take the organs of the deceased and they will put it on that jar. And that jar will be given to the family members. Okay, not a problem. I'll turn that off. Not a problem. So what you see right now, give me 1 second. I have just been informed that selfie sticks are not allowed. So I'm gonna have to use my hand, my shaky hand, to show you about things. So the Egyptian culture has had a great impact in what we do today. Yes, you guys are gonna see elements that will connect it to the 10 plagues, because that's why you came here to join. But you get more than the 10 plagues when you come and see the tour itself. So join me as we travel in time and as we make connections. And if you see something and you want me to talk about it, feel free to put it on the chat. I'm able to see it as we go. Take a look at that circle on top of that statue. Take a look at that circle on top of that statue. I want you to pay attention because I will be showing you a lot of different artifacts where some of the artifacts will have a circle on the top. Do you know what that circle is? Do you know what that circle represents? We started the tour talking about the Egyptian funeral arrangements. I saw you an urn. Now we're going to be seeing jewelry that appears on our artwork when you look at it on the watchtower. And we're also going to see games that were probably played at the time of Joseph, at the time of Moses. Now, what you're seeing right now is what is called a sarcophagus. A sarcophagus is the Greek name for the funeral box. What is the literal translation of sarcophagus? The literal translation of sarcophagus is man eater. How so? People who were placed on the sarcophagus after a couple of months, 8, 9, 12 months, when they looked inside the sarcophagus, what can they find? They only find bones. So the Egyptians started to preparing the process that today we call mummification or the preservation of the bodies. In this museum, not only are we going to see mummifications of humans, but we're also going to see mummifications of animals. And guess what? Most of the animals that were affected during the 10 plagues were connected to an Egyptian god. And we're going to see that today. But since we're here, I'm going to take the opportunity to bring your attention of Egyptian practices which still today. People who were placed on a sarcophagus, not only did they have what today we call makeup, but they were embalmed using spices, and also fine linen. Today, in most funeral arrangements, the body is prepared, people are dressed in their best outfit, and in some occasion, people would put personal items inside the sarcophagus. Is that a practice that we do today? Absolutely yes. You may be asking yourself, what is that eye on the outside of the sarcophagus? The Egyptians were very superstitious, so superstitious that they draw eyes so that the person or the deceased can look out bad spirits and they could be protected. I really don't know what they're going to do once you see a bad demon or a bad spirit. But have you heard the phrase, don't give me those evil eyes? That phrase originated from the Egyptians. If we look at the sarcophagus, we can connect very quickly that certain animals were really big with the Egyptians, and the majority of them were connected to actual God. When we review the 10 plagues, this is going to become a lot clearer. But what is this God that repeats right here? And it also repeats at the dog. It looks like a shackle. That animal, or as you see here, half human, half animal, is what we call a semigod, or someone who is almost like God. Anubis is not the god of the dead. He is the god of the embalmment or the mummification. And proof of this practice can be found even on the time of the Christians. When Jesus resurrected Lazarus, how was Lazarus' body prepared? Isn't it true that it was embalmed with spices and fine linen? Where did the Jews get the ideas of make a body preparation if it wasn't for the fact that the Jews were slaves in Egypt? Some idea for you to think about. Another idea that I want you to think is about ISIS. I'm not talking about the terrorist group. I'm talking about the female Egyptian god, one of the most powerful god in Egyptian culture. Yes, the Muslim religion may not have women in high regards, but there was a point in Egyptian history where women were as powerful as men. In fact, there was a female pharaoh who was actually female. Her name is Hatshepsut, Hatsheptut, Hatshepsut. Look it up. Of course, modern Egyptians are embarrassed that they were governed by a female, so they try to erase that from the record. However, archaeological findings are more than good evidence that they had a female Egyptians. We're going to continue moving in the galleries, but as you look, please try to think, what does this artifact reminds you of. Okay, we're gonna give you a quick look. Take a look at this game. Feel free to take a picture. It appears in one of our Watchtower magazines. I'm gonna put the reference so that you guys can see that. And to start with the 10 plagues, let's talk about plague number 3. Does anybody remember what was plague number 3? And you can put it on the chat. Plague number 3 and plague number 4. Do you see that on the screen? If you're typing on the chat, okay, there you go. I see King family, the gnats and the gadflies. Very good. What was plague number 2? Plague number 2, the frog. And take a look at the frog right here. Take a look at the frog. What is interesting about plague number 3? Plague number 1 was about blood. Plague number 2, do you see the connection? Right now, we are seeing what the museum is writing about this, and we can quickly come to the conclusion that the frog was important to the Egyptian culture. When you look at the plagues, do you remember which plagues where the Egyptian practicing priests were able to replicate? There is a point to that question. Do you remember which plagues were the Egyptian priests able to replicate? We have the first one, blood. We had the godfly. Well, yeah, okay, fine. If you want to start with the snake, that's not a plague, but yes, it started from there. Snake, the blood, the godfly. Do you know what that is? On the upper right-hand side, do you see the dung beetle? You see it on the top? What did Jehovah do with the dung beetle? What did Jehovah do with the dung beetle? Can you imagine the Egyptians walking and at the same time they were stopping or stepping over the dung beetle? For some reason, the Egyptians believed that the dung beetles were a god. Why? What does the dung beetle pushes? Isn't it a circle? The circle that I showed you earlier is called a halo. And that halo is represented with the sign that something is holy and that something is a god. So because of the dung beetle had a circle on the top, that's why the dung beetle was considered a god. And I'm looking here if I can find something with this circle. Okay, right here. Look at the circle right here. Once you have that circle, we are on top. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. There's a tour guy who's going to join me on the tour today. She's the one that conducts the live tours when we have friends coming over. So she will be joining us very soon. But what did you see, guys, here? You see people carrying bricks, right? Two adjoining blocks of a building. So the Egyptians were known for preparing bricks, for using mud to prepare bricks. There are people today who will deny that the Israelites were ever in Egypt. But the evidence that we see here at the museum is completely overwhelming. Completely overwhelming. As you see on the top, Egyptians did not like facial hair on their head or in their bodies. Why is this relevant? It is relevant because Joseph, who was able to interpret dreams, started interpreting dreams before he was actually sent as a slave to Egypt. Why is this important? It is important because Joseph will interpret the dream provided by the cupbearer and by the bread maker. When the cupbearer met the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh had what is called a nightmare, he quickly asked, who can interpret dreams? 2 years later, the cupbearer remembered that event, and he tells the Pharaoh, I know a guy who is imprisoned. His name is Joseph, and he can interpret dreams. So Joseph, what is the first thing that he does before he gets out of prison? He shaved. The Bible says that he shaved. Why did Joseph have to shave the hair of his head and the hair of his body? The magazine Archaeological Findings state that it was out of a sign of respect, because when you're going into a ceremony, you will need to shave. We can see how the Bible coincide with what the Egyptians were practicing on that time. Another thing that you will find in many Egyptian artifacts is the ankh, or the Egyptian cross. It's one of the oldest cross in human history. The cross is associated with the female and male organs. For the sake of this tour, anytime you see an ankh or the cross, the Egyptian cross, it is a sign that that thing holding the ankh is actually a god. And even though this is broken, you can see that it's actually a bird, one of the Egyptian gods affected in the 10 plagues. So as you see, this is not actual hair. This is a wig. The Egyptians were the first one to actually use wigs. Don't ask me why, but today, if you go to England, the people in the Justice Department, the judge, the lawyers, all of them have to use wigs as a sign of their work that they have to do. So I'm gonna be looking for more things with the halo or the circle. There it is. Perfect. So what do we have here? We have a falcon with a circle or a halo on the top. You see that? The Brooklyn Museum has a series of artifacts where it's very quickly for the naked eye to associate animals with being gods. As you review the history of the 10 plagues, you can see why the 10 plague would affect more animals than anything else. Hi, Nancy. How are you? If you want, I can take up my headset and you can comment as we go.
Sure.
Sure. Guys, let me take my Bluetooth headset so that my dear friend Nancy can actually join us. She's very shy. She doesn't like to come on camera. So please give her a chance to. Feel free and give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear me. Give me, oh, can you hear me? Okay, I can. Okay, Nancy, thank you for coming.
Sure.
She's Melinda.
Nice to meet you.
Melinda is a tour guide in training.
Cool.
Yes, and she also has her New York City license.
Oh, awesome.
So I was talking about the friends in a very unorganized way, how anybody can come to the museum. And just by understanding what the halo represent and what the ankh represent, they could quickly identify who were the Egyptian gods. Because the 10 plague tour does not make any sense if we cannot identify the Egyptian gods or the gods that Jehovah embarrassed. Is that the correct approach?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So we started talking about the snakes, how the Egyptian practicing priests were able to duplicate that, and they were able to do that with the blood. They were able to do with the flies and with the frogs. But then Jehovah stopped, and that's what we call that. That's where I'm heading now, or unless you want me to show anything else here in this gallery.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I follow you because you're the expert in this area. She's the original tour guide when we started doing the 10 plague before the pandemic. The 10 plague tour, as you know it, it started as a physical tour that later was transformed into a virtual tour. Is there anything that you would like to show us?
Do you mind backtracking a little bit?
Wherever you want me to take you.
So you guys already do this gallery? You visited down here?
I did it my way,
Okay.
fancy natural style.
So actually, I love this here. When we get to the fourth play, where we're talking about the Beatles, and because you can actually vividly see the Swedish punk business. So I love how you can actually see very clearly the back of the beetle.
Yeah.
Right. And let's down on the other side.
I shared the chat with them.
Okay.
Because it must have been very embarrassing to have all those needles on the floor. And as they were walking, they were probably stepping up. Oh my God! Oh my God!
That's it. That's where that started. That's my go-to joke when we in this section. So, when we talk about plague number 4 specifically, okay, eventually.
Oh, stay right there. Okay.
Yeah. And like when you work, like when you're doing a puzzle and there's 2 pieces that you want them to fit, but they don't, or you're forcing them.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
Yes.
It's 2 ideas and trying to put a classroom together.
Yeah. I naturally takes the poop and roll it out. The circle was on top of the beetle. And anything, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So when you have something on top of the beetle, then that makes it a semi-god.
Halo-ish
So
type of
halo-ish
situation.
thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
Hope everyone had lunch. After this.
Very good. Well, friends, I wanted to give you an idea of what the 10 Plagues in-person tour will look like. It is very hard to do it in person like we do it with a PowerPoint where you have all the slides one next to each other.
Fireworks and stuff.
Exactly. Or you have to walk from one gallery to another because not all the artifacts are in order. Yeah, are together. But that's where we come in. That's where we can give you. So if you're in New York and you want to take a tour of the Brooklyn Museum, then feel free to drop us a line, an email, or a text, and we'll be more than happy to organize a tour for you. It's 3:45. I wanted to do this for about half an hour. Right now, Nancy and I are going to be working on preparing what's going to be another tour for the friends that are going to be coming. So at this time, I would like to say thank you for joining this experiment. I may try this in a more organized way in the first week of October. But for now, thank you all for joining, for your support, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.